No one's music whips my ass more than Pitbull. No one's musical brand whips my ass more than Pitbull.
That's right. Promo UPFront, money in the pit, the mullet, a full podcast.
Come on, Kirby, finish what you started. I'm incomplete. And that is absolutely how we are going to start off episode 217 of the Promo UPFront podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Bill Petrie. With me, as always, let's call him the Emperor of Elections, the one and only Kirby Hasseman. Kirby! How the hell are you?
That's a scary nickname, is what that is. I'm doing fine. My comment on that is that I wanted to vote back in May so that we could get all this shit over with, and I'm tired of people telling me who to vote for. But other than that, I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited today. We're recording a day early
Yeah.
because tonight is in Nashville is the Sammy Hagar Best of All Worlds concert, which is essentially a Van Halen kind of a send off for Eddie Van Halen, who passed away almost 4 years ago. I'm real excited about it, so I'm all
Decked
regaled up here. I mean, everybody knows I'm a fan of Van Halen, so this is pretty exciting for me. But Kirby, there's something else I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of our sponsor today, Shapenko, because you know why, Kirby?
Why
I'm
is
going
that?
to tell you why. They only sell their fine merchandise through promotional products distributors. That means they are dedicated to doing more than just delivering the best branded writing instruments around and do so at a fair price. They always go the extra mile to ensure every distributor project is a resounding success. Now, to them, it's the right way to run a business, which is why they've been around for over 90 years and 4 generations of family ownership. In an era where change is always the norm, Kirby, Shapenko defines stability. Don't you agree, Kirby?
Yeah, we have talked about this, but I think it's worth mentioning again. The idea that most businesses fail within a year. Certainly,
Yeah.
then there's like 80% after 5 years. A business that lasts for 90 years has things dialed in. They have trust, they have integrity, and of course, they do a great job with a great product.
100%, Kirby. I couldn't agree more. But here's something else. They're currently running a free freight special on some of their very best-selling writing instruments: the International pencil, the Carpenter pencil, the Cosmopolitan ballpoint pen, and my favorite, the Attitude Mood Color Changing Pencil. Now, free freight should be enough, and for most people it would be. But how about free setup too?
Nice.
Of course, the good folks at Shapenko threw that in as well. Now, there are some important details, and you can find all of that at shapenko.com by clicking on the specials tab. But you better act fast because these specials end on November 15th, 2024. So get on those specials today. All right, Kirby. So we are we're podcasting, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Here
I
we
have
are.
I have the upfront section. And I did call you the Emperor of Elections today.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about elections. And I know it's kind of a territory we both are a little uncomfortable wading into because you're going to upset somebody no matter what you say, no matter how you say it. I want to talk about the PPAI board elections, however.
Okay. I'm happy to talk about that. That's great.
Yeah. So I think, a few years ago, PPAI made the decision to move away from individuals running a campaign against each other to get on the ballot for ultimate election. Or actually, on the ballot, because you'd vote for,
Yeah.
there'd be 2 distributor potential board members and 2 supplier potential board members. They moved away from that to a slate. Now, let me be clear here, and I'm going to speak for you here. What we may or may not say, whether we like the way things are or not, has absolutely no bearing on Mark Gammon, who is the supplier nominee this year, who's CEO of Cap America, and Kate Alva, Alaves, who's president of Promo Shop. I know Mark fairly well. I don't know Kate. What I do know is both of them are incredibly qualified and will do a tremendous job as the current slate. So whatever we have to say has nothing to do with those two at all. And I want to be very clear on that.
Okay.
Now, the reason PPAI did away with this because they felt that pitting two distributors against each other and two suppliers against each other kind of felt icky. And so they did away with it. And they also felt the slate allowed the board to say identify a need that they had on the board. Maybe it's someone with a technology background, maybe it's someone with a marketing background, so on and so forth, and to backfill from there. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. We're about 4 or 5 years removed from when it was individual campaigns. I think we have enough empirical data, or at least opinions, to see, is that still the right move? What do you
Mm.
think? I have opinions, very strong ones, but I'd like to hear yours.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you my my initial thoughts, and I'm super excited to hear yours because I haven't given this a ton of thought, if I'm
Yeah.
being honest. Um,
Yeah.
I know that when they moved away from the election, like
Right.
like everybody voted on it, it felt a lot like a popularity contest, and it felt like, hey, I don't know, pitting people against each other. I didn't love it, but and then it's like if I didn't know them, then I really didn't know what to do. And
Yeah.
so so to be honest, when they made that change, I was like, oh, I like that a lot because I'm viewing it as the PPAI board doing my homework
Hmm.
for me. You're figuring out exactly who you want and the kind of skill set that you want on the
Yeah.
board. And so, like, to be honest with you, I was kind of on board with it. I liked it. And to
Yeah.
be honest, also as a person who's been on a bunch of boards, that's really how a lot of boards are done, right? Like you
Right.
figure out who you need and then you go and then the the people vote on it. So
Right.
um I think I can guess what some of the challenges would be on something like this, but
Yeah.
overall, when these come out, I'm like, okay, great.
Right.
I do my research and then go, yeah, sounds good, and I vote on it. So I generally like the process.
Right. Okay. I completely disagree. I at the when they made the change, I was on board with it. Seeing two friends kind of campaign did feel a little icky at times. I'm not gonna you know pretend that wasn't the case. But right now, the voting is a sham.
Mhm,
I don't even know why we vote, to be honest with you. I
mhm.
mean, apparently, if enough people voted no against the slate,
Which just
then they
happened.
would have to choose. Yeah, it has, but
Yeah.
it's fairly much a rubber stamp for the
Mhm.
most part. For the
Right.
most part, it is. Um, I think it's time to return to a real election because what we're doing in retrospect, I think, and it's one of those laws of the unintended consequence. You're not allowing people to say, I want to serve. I think I have something to offer. There's the
Mhm.
whole LDC, which is I haven't know the Leadership Advisory Council, and that's kind of a secret group. Nobody really knows who's on that, and they're the ones who identify people who should be on the board with the board. It feels a little secretive. It feels a little a lack of transparency, and I think there should be an avenue for people to say, I want to run. And
Mhm.
and here's the other thing, Kirby. It's still only suppliers and distributors.
Mhm.
And with the new PPAI membership structure, multi-line reps are not you cannot run for election on the board.
Mhm.
They are classified as business services providers, much like me. So I could be appointed to the board, and there is one seat that is appointed by the board for a 2-year term, but I can't serve any other way, and neither could a business serve or a multi-line rep. So to me, I think it's the bottom line is I think it's time to allow people again to run for the board. The slate is cleaner, but it does tend to make the board stale and without fresh ideas. Like I said, the secret group kind of bothers me. We need more transparency, not less. And I think what's happened, as I've seen, again, law of unintended consequences. What's happened with the slate, the board is not nearly as representative of
Mhm.
the membership group as it used to be. Almost every single person on that board works for a large company. The only person
Mhm.
I can think that doesn't right now is Carrie Cowden, who's rolling off the board at Connect the Dots Promotions. I think she's with Campus Stop now. Everybody else works for a large large distributorship or a large supplier when what 85% of this industry is made up of small
Mm,
businesses like you, like me, like
mm,
Vault Promotions, like all these other small businesses, but they're not represented on the board.
mm,
That bothers me greatly. You have a seat available on the board where the board can appoint someone if you have a need. If we need someone with technology, we need someone with this expertise, you have that avenue already. I do think it's time to open it up a little bit and allow people to raise their hand and say, I'd like to serve. I'd
mm.
like to represent small businesses in Appalachia, or I'd like to represent this and that. It just drives me I, it doesn't drive me nuts. I don't want to get too carried away here. I just think it's time for PPA and the board to really look at how this is done. I think there's a way to conduct elections where you're not really pitting people against each other where it feels icky, but you do allow that opportunity for people to serve if they'd like to.
Hmm, okay. Yeah, I think it is interesting because you go, like, I'm just looking at it as from a member point of view that it's really easy, right? And so I think that was the lens through which I
Wow.
was looking at it. Okay. Your point is well taken, and I think mainly because like I hadn't thought about it through the idea of I couldn't serve because I hadn't necessarily wanted to. The idea
Yeah.
that if you wanted to and you can't is weird. Like I that's a great point that you made.
Yeah. I'm sure there's an avenue where you can say, "Hey, I'd like to be considered
Right.
for it," but it wouldn't be your choice. It would be the
Yeah.
leadership advisory council deciding if you were worthy. And again, there should be some sort of vetting. I'm not saying there shouldn't. I just like it to be a little more open, a little more transparent. And again, one of the reasons the regionals struggle so much is they don't have volunteers.
Right.
I mean, in many cases, if you want to be on a regional board, it's like, do you have a pulse and you pay your membership dues? Super, you can be on the board. That tends to lead to nothing really happening at the regional level. I think we've both seen that in person at times. When you don't have people, when you don't have an avenue, people say, I'd like to be on the board. I'd like to
Right.
serve, and it tends to make things stale. Like I said, again, this has nothing to do with Mark or Kate, who I know are both extremely qualified,
Right.
extremely capable, and have no doubt they will do an amazing job for the entire industry.
Yeah.
But I do think it's time to kind of open it up
Yeah.
a little bit.
I think it's interesting because I think so I like you're very thoughtful. I appreciate your perspective on this, and you've given it a lot more thought than me. And it really, I think maybe the question is, okay, can we do something like this and then just do it in a little bit different way than it was done in the past?
Right,
Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it did get a little bit campaigny and a little weird, and it
right.
felt very much like a popularity
It
contest there for a while. And so,
yeah.
yeah,
No, it
so if we
had
can do it in a way that's not
accelerated.
that.
It had accelerated with certain people, and I'm not going to name names, but we're running extremely sophisticated campaigns
Yeah.
and extremely, and it really should just be, hey, have a town hall meeting. We have the technology to do that. What are some of the things that are facing the industry for the next 3 to 4 years when they be on a board? Have the people the ability to ask, questions, they answer, and that should be it. Then
Mm,
the decision can be made. But
yeah. I
again,
like that.
I just think it's something to look at. I don't know what the solution is, but I do think it's something to look at. Hey,
That's interesting.
Kirby, you know what? Promo Pulse is celebrating their 5th anniversary. We talked about that. You mentioned that in the
Mm,
earlier read, and
yeah.
they've had such tremendous growth, and they are giving away over $10,000 in
Wow.
marketing tools to help distributors grow their own businesses. Now, everyone who signs up gets a free idea generator for their clients. 20 distributors will get an AMP starter email subscription, and only one very lucky the distributor will get a full AMP subscription plus a one-on-one sales and marketing analysis from you, from me, and they're also going to get a copy of your book, Hit the Target. He's holding it right there. There's only a couple days left. Got to do it before the end of August, and that is on Saturday. So go to promopulse.io to get signed up and get it done. Get it done. All right, Kirby, you got a topic for us?
Okay, so I had a couple other topics, and I I'm living through something right now that I think many people, you included, everybody who's been in this industry has lived through. And I wanted some like your thoughts, maybe advice, whatever. So I'm living through one of those where one of my team members, through zero fault of their own, is living
Okay.
through a nightmare order. Okay, so
Uh-huh.
Okay, and I'm gonna give real quick background. So just so
Okay.
so they did the order. It was mugs from a reputable supplier, great supplier.
Hmm.
Got them in house.
So this is the issue is not on the supplier.
It's a little bit of
I will shut
everything.
my
Yeah, yeah.
I will shut up now.
So we got them in, and the imprint rubbed off like too easily. Rubbed off.
Okay.
Reach out to the supplier. Immediately, the supplier is like, "Absolutely, we will redo them." Like so. Again, my
Hmm.
point is like, and they did.
Right.
And they worked and it's worth mentioning it's at a restaurant. So these are going to get washed a lot. Like, okay.
Right.
So
Mm.
after about a month, it was happening again. It wasn't initially, the first one was real bad. This one's better.
Yeah.
Reach out to the supplier again, honestly thinking they're going to be like, hey, what are you going to do? Whatever.
Yeah.
They were not
Redo.
like that.
Okay.
But what they did is, hey, let's do a different decoration technique. Okay. Again,
Yep.
really thoughtful, like zero complaints about the supplier.
Right.
Get the mugs in with this new decoration technique, and the handles are falling off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's just, and again, each time we're responsive, like, and the supplier's been responsive, and it's one of those, and I'm laughing about it because it's just like
Yeah.
everybody
Snake
is
bit.
doing what they're saying that they're supposed to do. So what do you do? There are times I feel like when those, no matter how hard you try, when that pen order
Yeah.
goes off the rails, you can
Yeah.
like, no matter how hard you try, you can't get it back on the rails. It feels like.
Yeah.
So in this situation, is there like, what do you do to make it right, to fix the solution? Dude, I'm open.
Well, again, so many different avenues to go. First thing is at this point, you've worked with a supplier, in my
Yeah.
opinion. They've done everything. They've
Yep.
tried everything and nothing's worked. At this point, it's time to get a refund from the supplier
Yeah.
and go to another source. And it just didn't work out. And I think you can communicate and say, look, this is not going to color me using you in the future, but this is a concern. And it's self-preservation at this point because it's
Mm,
your client. You're the one who
yeah.
has to deal with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, it's time to go to another supplier. Um, and it depending on the size of the order,
Mhm.
which I don't know what that is,
About
depending on the size
1,300
of your
bucks. 1,300
okay.
bucks.
So
Just
okay, so $1,300. And now depending on the size of your client,
mhm.
which I don't know what that is,
Not huge.
I might consider just doing it for free, saying, we're going to make this right, and here's how we're going to do it. We're going to redo it. We're going to use a different factory, and you're not going to pay a dime. I'm going to refund your entire order because this has been just too much. To me, that is that to me is the only way to handle it if you're looking to save that customer, because everybody's understanding until they're not. And
Yeah.
at some point, I mean, okay, imprint rubbed off. Oh, man, okay. So we're getting a new one. Imprint rubs off after a month. Okay. New one. Now the handle's falling off. I mean, if I'm the customer, I'm surprised they're not looking to fire you,
Mhm.
Kirby, as the point of contact.
Yeah.
So, or so to me, it's all about being proactive. I'd be over there and say, look, this is what I'm thinking. I want to run it again. We're going to do a different factory, completely different. It's going to cost me more. I don't really care. I'm going to refund your money, the entire order. Would that make you happy? I'll get these. If that makes you happy, I can get these mugs to you by X.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
To
And
me, that's
so,
the only way to handle it.
yeah, I think, yeah. And so it's funny because I was thinking, well, I'm just gonna like, I like what you're thinking because I was just like, guys, it's white flag. We got to give them their money back and move on with our
Yep.
lives. It's like,
Yep.
it's because we are not fulfilling our promises. So,
Yep.
and the challenge is they paid, right? Because this is taken, like they'd
Yep.
already paid for the
Absolutely.
order, the whole 9 yards. So, yeah,
That money's already been spent too.
yeah. So, no, I think that your advice is good. And, yeah, I appreciate that. So
If
it's
you're
just one of
looking to
those where,
save the client.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. All right, Kirby. Hey, it's interview time. Kirby, you released a new book, and we
Oh,
didn't talk about this last week,
yeah.
and I wanted to talk about it today. So we're
Okay.
going to talk about it today. So you have written a new book with your dad called Son of a Preacher Man. It was
Yeah.
released, I think, about a week ago. I wanted to ask you a little bit about it. So
Thanks, man.
if you don't mind me, you bet. If you don't mind me taking the Larry King route here, I'm going to interview you and ask you a few questions.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, buddy.
So Kirby, what's the book about?
Yeah, it's a fiction book. It's a murder mystery about a guy, Kurt Hunter, who owns a distributorship in Wheeling, West Virginia, and
Mhm.
he's on a sales call, and it's set in 1996. That's important. We
Okay.
we actually wrote it 30 years ago. And so when I was writing it, this all made sense. And so I have to tell you, it was set in 1996. And he's doing a presentation to a radio guy, and he has a CD, a presentation CD with his laptop, mixes the CDs up. Turns out there's some information on the other CD, and the radio station manager ends up being murdered. And so his CD sitting on the desk. He becomes a suspect in the murder and then a target of the murder. And so this is sort of the story of how he hopefully gets out of that.
I like the promotional products tie-in, and
Right.
that's interesting. So you said it's been 30 years in the making. Tell me how that worked. Did you write all of it 30 years ago and it just sat on a shelf? Did you write like some of it 30? Tell me how this came to be.
Yeah. So it was back. I want to say it's back when my dad was living in North Carolina, but we were apart, and I would literally write a chapter, send it to him. He would email it back to me with changes and updates, and we went through the whole book that way. And then it got to a place where I think we were both like, it's not quite there. The lesson here is that perfection got in the way, right? We were like, it's not done. It's not this. And so it literally just sat on a shelf. And when I say it sat on a shelf, literally as I was moving stuff around, I had a 3-ring binder with it printed out. When this was done, it was like on a floppy disk. I mean, it was literally like it's that long ago. And so at the beginning of this year, I was like, this is stupid. Whether anybody wants to read it or anybody likes it or whatever, we've done this, we should put it out there. And so I went through the process of scanning it back in and then retyping a lot of it, taking out typos, whatever. And then I sent it to Dad and said, hey, this has been too long. If you want to make any edits, you can make edits, but it's getting published whether you like it or not. And so, and so I think he jumped on board too. And so, yeah, that's how it kind of came to be.
So what was it like collaborating with your dad on a project like this? You know, knowing your dad is kind of a legend of the promotional products industry. I mean, he's got a long and rich history. You're a second generation promotional products professional. What was it like writing this book with your dad? And what was the difference between doing it 30 years ago and doing it today?
Yeah, it's a great point. So so it's funny too, because his second career then was teaching, and he was an English teacher.
Right.
So it was actually great in the sense that he's, you know, his vocabulary is off the charts. He's a great writer. And so I think it was good in the sense that I would, you know, be the engine to push something to go, and then he would kind of fix all my mistakes. But it was really fun. And I think it was really fun then here most recently, because I'm like, okay, this is, there's going to be typos, there's going to be mistakes, but we've got to get it out there. And actually, my mom sent me a text and said, hey, I'm so excited you did this. This is as excited I've seen dad on a project in a while. And so that's pretty rewarding.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, if people want to buy the book, Kirby, where can they get it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's on Amazon. That's the big thing. We've got it as an ebook, and then we've got it as a paperback. So Son of a Preacher Man with our names on it, and they can find it.
Awesome. Now, most people end the interview here. I'm not most people. We're going to play a little rapid fire, Kirby. We're going to play a little rapid fire. There's no wrong answers here. I just want to know, I'm going to ask a question, and who's better at something, you or your dad, as it relates to this book?
I love it. Okay.
Who is a better plot creator, you or your dad?
I think I did it. So I don't know if I'm better at it, but I did it. I kind of mapped out the story.
Who's a better editor, you or your dad?
Oh, Dad, for days, not even close.
Who's a better designer in terms of the book cover, things like that, you or your dad?
Dad would be better at it. Again, I did it, but he's an artist. He's actually a graphic artist, so he's way better at that stuff.
No, I know these things.
Okay, cool.
Who has better penmanship? So if they were writing out longhand, would it be you or your dad?
Dad. Not even close.
Now, last question. When you do a book signing in tandem with your dad, who has the cooler signature?
Ooh, that's a good one. Again, probably him. His penmanship, mine is so terrible. People make fun of my signature. Like, as we buy properties and stuff like that, mine's such a scribble that they're just like, seriously, that's your signature? So I think that's great because it's fast. But his designing, penmanship, all that kind of stuff, he's way better.
Awesome. That's it. Great.
Thanks, man.
Kirby. So you can pick up Kirby's new book with his dad, Rod and Kirby Hasseman, Son of a Preacher Man, at your local Amazon online retailer. Just go around the corner and get on your computer and order it. All right, cool. Got another
Appreciate it.
topic, or are we done for today?
Yeah, we'll do one quick here. Seriously,
All right,
thank you.
let's
I didn't
go.
know you were going to do that.
Yeah,
That
of
was
course.
nice.
I know you didn't. I'm
Um,
full of surprises.
you are. All right. We'll make this a quick one.
Yeah.
Pit Bull Stadium. I don't know if you have heard about this, but the man
Yeah.
famous for upstaging everyone from Neo to Christina Aguilera on a party anthem will now have his name emblazoned across a stadium. Florida International University, FIU, approved a deal
Mm.
giving Pit Bull naming rights for 1.2 million years, 1.2 million per year for the next 5 years. So it's Pit Bull Stadium is the name of the stadium. You were seeing a trend of everybody naming stadiums for sponsorship dollars.
Mhm.
So number one, do you think this is a good marketing play for Pit Bull? And number two, is there going to be a Brand of Eight stadium in our near future?
No one's music whips my ass more than Pitbull. No one's musical brand whips my ass more than Pitbull. Is it good for his brand? That was the first question you
Yeah.
asked. I don't know. Florida International University is not exactly in the top 25 generally in college football, but look, if that's how he wants to spend his ill-gotten gains from stealing riffs from and music from other people, so be it. Um, I think it's dumb. Here's what I do like about it. I like the fact that announcers will have to say, "You are looking live at Pitbull Stadium here in sunny Florida." Now that's funny to me.
Yeah.
But so that's my initial thought. Will there be a Brand of Eight stadium? Funny you should ask. So when we were in Italy this summer, we are sponsoring a junior league soccer team. We've changed our name to Brandavate to sound a little more Italian. So you will be able to see Brandavate FC just outside of Naples, about 20 kilometers southeast of Naples, in a small town called Parma.
I love that you changed to kilometers. That's really committing. That's really
Oh,
good.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
no.
really committing.
Of course, it'd be so much fun to have a Brand of Eight stadium. Now, I will say I have thought of sponsoring, Brand of Eight locally. I've thought of sponsoring like little league teams and things like that. My kids have kind of aged out, so I kind of, walked away from that. But no, I would never. I still fail to see how someone plays at US Bank Field for where the Minnesota Vikings play, and someone at home or is walking in the stadium and all of a sudden thinks, I've been at Bank of America for 15 years. It's about time I gave US Bank a try. I don't understand. I mean, it's brand awareness, but
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
it. I that's it. So
Yeah.
what about you?
I think it is a fascinating use of ego money, right? Like, and
Totally.
and maybe there's more to it from a branding and music
Understand.
sales perspective. But 1.2 million per year for the next 5 years, I don't know. It seemed like if
Yeah.
you got that kind of money, that didn't seem that bad.
Let me bring it back to the promotional products industry.
Yeah.
Back when I got in the industry, Halo was a giant company and they
Yep.
spent millions of dollars a year. They had the seat backs
Yep.
for the Chicago Bulls during their run with Jordan in the 90s and all that. You could see Halo, HA.LO was the old logo. In the back of major league dugouts,
Yep.
even
Cincinnati. Yeah.
When Paul Molitor hit his 3000th hit in Minnesota again, Halo was in the background. So, and I remember when we went through the assets and what to do when the bankruptcy was declared. I mean, the obscene amount of money spent on
Mhm.
vanity advertising, maybe that's a good way to call it,
Yeah.
was absurd. It was like 50, $60 million a year
Wow.
combined with, I think there was 8 or 10 Major League Baseball stadiums in the Chicago Bulls. I mean, it was just insane. So I don't see how that moves anyone to action, which is
Mhm.
really what effective advertising should do, in my opinion. So,
Yeah. I love it. All right. I just thought it was fun.
well, I'll tell you what does move people to action, Kirby. That is thoughtful and intentional writing instruments from our good pals over at Shapenko. And they're running some specials on 4 of their most popular products. That's the International Pencil, the Carpenter Pencil, the Cosmopolitan Ballpoint Pen, and the Attitude Mood Color Changing Pencil. Free freight, free setup. And all the details you can find at shapenko.com. And just got to act quick. November 15th, 2024, they go away. They just go right in the ether, right just in the thin air. So that's it for today on the Promo Fun podcast. I'm going to spend the rest of my day trying to wonder what songs are going to be played tonight at the Van Halen Sammy Hagar show. Wow.
Have fun.